Welcome to Golden Speakers Toastmasters Club of Fairfield, Iowa. My name is Vera Elizabeth. I'm your Sergeant at Arms. And now it is my pleasure to welcome our President, Will Burns.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you, everybody here today. All you Toastmasters. I'm looking out here for any guests. I don't see any. But I want to acknowledge all of you, members, both of this club and of others, who have decided to come out today and attend. Because really, this club is really made up of all of you. You are the lifeblood of this organization. Speaking, roles, evaluation. These are all the things that we do here that rely upon you. So thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mission of Toastmasters is to provide a mutually supportive learning environment in which every member, each and every one of you, has the chance to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. And with that, I will welcome our Toastmaster, Diane Denmark.
Good evening, everyone. Happy election day and night. And the theme is election. My goodness. Thanks, Will, for welcoming us. I always like to get right into it. I'm the Toastmaster. My role tonight is to just make sure that the meeting starts on time, ends on time. I introduce the role players, the different sections of the evening. I'm really the hostess for this evening's meeting. With that said, I would like to first introduce the general evaluator who we'll hear from midway through the meeting, and that's Jean Symington Craig this evening.
Yeah.
Jean?
Invisible.
We just pretend.
Spectral.
Thank you, Darlene, for greeting us, and we look forward to your joke later as the greeter joke master. So, Darlene, thank you. The ballot leader counter is Will Burns this evening.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay, so, good thing there's no odd counter yet. The odd counter is Rhonda Whitaker.
Well, I'm winging it tonight because there are no sheets for the R counters. So I made up my own sheet. I will be counting extra words that people say. And, so, like, anyway, you know, well, that kind of thing. Okay, and certain behaviors that might distract from your speech. And any repeats or Xerox, like repeating a word or sentence. And that's my role. Thank you.
Thank you for making your own sheet and being flexible. We'll take care of that for next week. Our grammarian is Stephanie Chambers. Stephanie, grammarian.
Sorry.
She wasn't warned.
Okay, we're waiting for that. We'll have Seth introduce his role as the timer.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I will be the timer this evening. The timer's role is to keep the time tracked properly, and that means the table topics get a 1 minute light, you get a green, and 1.5 you get amber, and 2 minutes you get red, and the light remains on for 30 seconds, at which time we begin clapping, which means you're done. If you fail to speak up to 1 minute, you are disqualified. If you speak over 2 minutes, 30 seconds, you're disqualified from table topics. Prepared speeches tonight, we have a 5 to 7 minute speech. The light goes on at 5 minutes, green, 6 minutes, amber, 7 minutes, red, and remains on until 7 minutes, 30 seconds, at which time I begin clapping, and you're done. We also have a 7 to 9 minute speech. The green light goes on at 7, amber at 8, Red at 9, remains on until 9 minutes 30 seconds, which time I will begin clapping, which means your speech is done. Evaluations are 3 minutes. The green light's turned on at 2 minutes. The yellow light is turned on at 2 minutes 30 seconds, also known as amber. And 3 minutes, the red light comes on and stays on until 3 minutes 30 seconds, at which time begin clapping, which means your time is done. Thank you.
Thank you. We're almost ready for the grammarian. Okay. Yeah, we're ready? Perfect timing. I love it. So tonight, Stephanie Chambers, the grammarian here. Let me help you.
Okay.
Here we go.
So the word of the day is perfectionist. The person who aims for perfection. So I'm sure that we have quite a few people who live up to that role in this club, so you should be able to use the word quite often. And so I'll be keeping track of the people who use this word during this talks tonight. And I'll also be keeping an eye out for interesting uses of words, creative sentences, things that grab my attention and stay in my mind. So that's my role tonight. Thank you.
Those are the role players. So now I would like to introduce, for the first time, correct?
Correct.
John Loros is our table topic master. Let's welcome John.
So the speakers, guests, and viewers at home, as table topic master, I come up with topics and then get volunteers to come up and speak so that they can learn how to speak, think on their feet, speak extemporaneously, and get all sorts of good skills that way. Because in life, we don't often get time to prepare for speeches. We have to think on our feet. So in honor tonight of our election, do I have a volunteer who would like to play the role of a campaign, someone running for the 10th grade class presidency of their high school. And I have 4 topics that you would run on. And you pick 1 through 4. Anyone?
Wow.
And I don't know your name.
Oh, you Pendra.
Pindra. In honor of the election day today, as a candidate for your 10th grade class president, please pick a campaign promise that you will speak on and try and convince the class that you should be the president based on that campaign. 1 through 4. Just pick 1 through 4. 1. Okay. Your campaign promise is that if you're elected, all the kids will be able to bring their dog or their cat to class. And then that's a good thing. Please.
Madam Toastmaster, Mr. Table Topic Master, fellow members and guests. Very fitting question and a very fitting moment at the election day, how we can prepare ourselves to get at a different level of thinking. If we do not break the status quo, we will never progress. And where we progress most, it at the formative level. Child from 5 to 7 years. By the time you're 18, you're already fixed in your ways. Believe me or not, most of your personality is still plastic, but 90% of personality is already being shaped. So I am running for the president for the class 10 grade, but my school is from kindergarten to high school. And I am talking on behalf of everyone, like MSA, where the kindergarten student come, preschool student come, and a high school student come. You will agree with me, you will agree with me. Our sense of ourself is an illusion. In fact, we are all pure consciousness, and we have shaped in different ways to perform a unique function. And I'm not talking about only us. In fact, everything in this planet has a function. Whether it's a plant, it's an animal. How can we connect? Only not to human beings, to everyone. One way to connect is compassion. Compassion is accepting weakness and strength of everyone. You become compassionate to yourself first, and then you become compassionate to others, your family members. Is a dog a family member? Is a cat a family member? Everyone who shares a roof with you is a member of the family. Why not a child be allowed to come and bring respect so they can show I'm compassionate? If you can be compassionate, you can achieve anything in this world. Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you very much. Another candidate? Jean Simon. Two, three, or four?
Two.
Two. If elected, you will you would want to have a vegetarian entree in the cafeteria for the whole school. Thank you.
All right.
Fellow students, I'm running on a platform today to recognize cultural ethnicity, multi-ethnicity, recognizing that there are many different ways to eat in this world. Just because we're in Iowa and we have corn and hogs and cattle, I guess, doesn't mean that we can't branch and acknowledge and accept the food choices of people really from places that we maybe even never been to. The world is getting much more connected. We have Indian students in our classroom, curries, other kinds of spicing. Why not? We have someone from California. Haven't you talked about apples before? Some incredible apples. We don't have to have just the plain old delicious apples. We can have a variety of apples. We can have, you're from New York. Bagels, lox, whatever we need to have. Let's celebrate our differences through our food. We have people who are vegetarian for whatever reason. It can be for what they put in their body. It can be for spiritual, moral reasons. Doesn't matter, but that's their choice. And it's actually a choice that's happening more and more out there in the world. So let's make sure that that segment of our class is happy, because really when we get everyone happy, isn't the class a better place? That's what I'm really running on, is happiness for our class. So everybody gets something of what they want, including the vegetarians. I hope you vote for me when we have our election, and I'll make sure that the menu is constantly changing, always interesting, and absolutely delicious. Thank you.
Next candidate? Anyone?
All right.
As a 10th grade candidate for your presidency of your class, you have found a newfound obsession with the Twilight books, and you would like to change the name of the sports team of your school to the Vampires.
It's a little tough for me. Can I go for another one?
Okay. All right. In your class, in your school, you only have RC Cola in the vending machines. If you're elected, you will bring in Coke and Pepsi.
Fellow students, I'm stood for your right. I'm here to talk about your rights. Every individual has right to drink what he or she wants. The campus authority has no right to decide what you can drink or what you can't. See the vending machine? It should not have only Coke, Pepsi, or Fanta. It should have coffee also. I'll get you not only Coke and Pepsi or Fanta or cold drinks. I want college to have another vending machine which provides tea, coffee, milk, chocolate. So that is my agenda for this election. So I hope, not only hope, I believe. It's my belief that each and everybody wants to enjoy that cold drinks, milk, chocolates, and so many varieties of drinks. And this is my promise. Let me be the president. And see what you will get. Thank you.
Just a point of order on time. Since Tom's not here, we have an extra 8 minutes. Well, probably more like 10 minutes for table topics. So you can kind of extemporaneously make up some more points. And I'll volunteer to be next.
All right. I have one. Steph, please come up. Okay, till I extemporaneously write up some more. I have the vampire.
Vampire one, okay.
Okay. So you are a fan of the Twilight books.
And why we should name our sports team the Vampires.
Or werewolves, actually. I'll give you that.
My fellow 10th graders. An issue of great import has come down on this great nation. I believe there's a time for us to make a decision about the future of the sports team here. I'd like you all to consider the opportunity that we have. A hope for a better country for our children. You see, if we continue to use these outdated and antiquated ways of engaging our sports team by titles that come from an oppressive era, it's time to embrace a new fantasy world. A fantasy world of hope and change we can believe in. That's why I'm advocating that our sports team be changed to the Vampires. The vampire is a creature that lives off the blood of another creature. A resourceful creature. A creature that can withstand a recession. A creature that can believe in 4 more years. My fellow Americans, it's time to make a choice. I invite you to stand with me as we move forward with the vampires, creatures that live for forever. Be killed with this stake and burned with holy water. And don't like garlic. And that's why I implore you to stand up for this amazing future, where we stand for immortality, where we stand for blood-sucking, and other things that will strike fear into our opponents' teams.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you.
I have a couple of other campaign promises if somebody wants to try one. Okay, Stephanie, please. Okay, your candidacy is based on the promise that if you're elected, you will allow students to pick their classes based on whether their boyfriend or girlfriend is in the class, and why that is good for education. Thank you.
Fellow students, fellow friends, fellow boyfriends, fellow girlfriends. I think what we have to realize today is that it's been too long that we've put up with other people deciding which classes we can take. We need to take responsibility ourselves and have freedom to choose which classes we are in. And it doesn't matter if that happens to be biased by the fact that our boyfriend or our girlfriend is in that class. We can do whatever we want, and we should be allowed to do whatever we want. That's how we're going to be training ourselves to go into the real world. In the real world, we have choices. We don't get just told by somebody from above what we have to do. We make our own choices. We decide what we want to study, where we want to work, who we want to associate with, and if that happens to be that really cute guy over there, we do it. And that's what we are aiming to be, free people in society. And I think that's what we should be telling our authorities, that they have to give us that freedom now. It won't harm our education, because if we're happy, we'll learn better than ever. How can you learn if you're unhappy? You can only really absorb material when you're feeling like you're in love. We've got to be in love with life and in love with everyone we study with. So I think that's what my platform is for this election, and if you vote for me, you'll be able to choose which classes you do. Thank you.
All right.
Any more time, sir?
Yep. Oh yeah, lots of time.
All right.
6 minutes of time.
One more candidate. Okay, Art. Okay, your campaign is going to be based on that if you're elected, you will allow kids to meditate in class when they want to.
Okay, students, let me tell you why you ought to vote for me for class president. So here's the deal. I'm going to stump for us being able to meditate in class. So here's the deal. When you meditate, unless you're doing some really bizarre kind of meditation, you close your eyes. Now who knows what you're doing? Who can tell what's going on in your head when you close your eyes? Could be you're getting a nap, could be anything. Here's the way it works in this school. We don't get to choose anything we want. The administration sets the rules. So we actually have to come up with a really good program for why this is going to generate better results for the administration, because them looking good to their authorities is what gets this school funded. It's what makes this whole place run. So here's why my program is the one you want to go for. My program is that we get to meditate in class. Now that's the cover story. The real story is that we can do whatever we want when we close our eyes. But if it improves the way we behave in the classroom, as judged by these teachers and administration, they're going to go for it. So I tell you, here's the reason why it's way more important to get this kind of a privilege, meditate in class, than to get Pepsi or Coke in the Coke machines, or be able to choose what. I mean, there are some things, you can go get a Pepsi because this is an open campus. You can get off campus and get the Pepsi at lunchtime if you want it. Don't need to go for that one. The thing that we gotta get them to agree to is we can close our eyes when we're in the classroom. The whole universe of possibilities opens up when we can close our eyes in the classroom. We could be doing anything we wanted. So I tell you, it gives us a whole lot more choices to go for that. And I'm the only one of your class president candidates that's actually promoting that idea. There's another really good idea on the table. So you got to choose between the best ideas. I think this one even allows more possibilities than that we get to choose classes based on whether the boyfriend or the girlfriend's in the class. That's another great idea. But this one has even more possibilities for us winning. So vote for me.
Okay, any other candidates? This is an easy one. I got an easy one.
This will be the last one.
Last one.
I'll take it.
Anybody? Go.
Yeah.
You want me to try?
Yes.
Jesus.
I'll try.
You just point?
It seems like there's a red button that you push to make it go on.
Just sit here like this.
Is it on?
Okay. If you're elected, at your school right now, you're not allowed to leave the school grounds for the whole day. But if you're elected, you will allow the kids to leave campus for lunch, go where they want, and get back in time. And that's your time.
Good evening, fellow students. Enough with void promises. This is the country of the freedom. Freedom where you have the right to choose the kind of drink you want, the kind of meal you want, whether you like meat or vegetables. You have the reason, you have the right to choose. You have the right to close your eyes and meditate and take a nap. This is the country of liberties, the country of freedom. And why not have the freedom if you need to walk outside the school? You want the freedom to walk outside the school for whatever reason? I will allow you to do that. This is freedom. You can go and come back as you please. That's why I should be elected. Let me be your president. Let me guide you. Let me show you what freedom is all about. The important things. Freedom to fly, to soar, to enjoy life. This is the country of opportunities. Let's take advantage of it. Forget the previous years. We got promises about this, about that, drinks, food, vegetables. Having your boyfriend in the classroom? What happened to those promises? Today I am here to tell you that you got the freedom. I will allow you the freedom to go and come back to school as long as you respect the time. That's the only rule that I will ask you to. Because we need to make this country grow. To continue with freedom. Let's keep the freedom. Freedom!
Thank you.
Sure. Not ask.
Do we, so we are...
Now we vote.
Now we vote.
Did everybody qualify?
Everyone qualified. The names of the...
Has everyone qualified in their
Everyone is
time?
qualified, and those people are Upendra Sharma, Jean Simonton Craig, Jyoti Raj Adhikari, Seth Braun. That guy was good. Stephanie Sanders, Art Atkinson, Jesus Rios.
So we're voting for our 10th grade president. Okay.
Yeah, you stay there. We never leave the lecture.
Action.
Okay. I'd like to introduce the Table Topics Evaluator now, Will Burns, our president.
Are you a 10th grader?
Tall.
I was held back a little bit. I'm going to go fast here because we got a lot to cover. Upendra, I like how you greeted the audience. You moved from side to side very well. And I like how you were able to take the topic that John gave you and shift it into your own comfort zone. You tied in the cats and the dogs, but you really spoke about compassion, about being more compassionate, and you used that as a springboard to kind of draw us in to your table topics. That was really good. I would have liked that you focus on the idea of one thought to one person, so more direct eye contact. You did that some, but I would have liked to see that more. But overall, great gestures, you had great vocal variety, as you always do. Great job. Gene Simonton Craig, you have a very smooth, elegant mode of speech, which I would like to emulate someday. Very confident up here, whether you're speaking or evaluating. And I feel like it really flowed quite well today. However, I felt like it flowed a little bit more to this side of the room than to this side. And as somebody who's interested in bridging the two houses, bridging the two sides here, bringing consensus and bipartisanship would be certainly something I could do. But overall, get the speaker. Keep it up. Joe T. I like how you used humor or Fanta, believe, and kind of run with that idea to really excite us and build that excitement by giving us the taste of coffee or tea as well to get us in there. You actually do something similar that I do a lot, which I'm not doing right now because I have this clipboard, and that's have your hands on your stomach or kind of in here. I do that a lot too. That's something I'm working on. So bring that out because it opens up the ability to use a lot of gestures. You have a wide variety of gestures to use. Seth, I like your humor, but from him, because he's a gifted speaker, I want to make one clear point to everybody here, that when he got stopped there, he took a pause. And got himself back and moved forward. To hit the resilient point, the immortality point. As a speaker, we often feel the need to keep talking, but sometimes we just need to shut up. Stephanie, I like how you really greeted the audience. Where's Stephanie? I like how you greeted the audience. And certainly you won points with me when you said, just the connection with with the audience and with love. I'll look it up later. I would have liked to have seen more gestures. You did a great gesture when you were behind the lectern here, with raising your arm up. But I would like to have seen more gestures because that was good. Art, you hit on a number of good points. And on lectern, I would have just said to take more time because you had a lot of good points to make there, and I feel like you definitely came out of the gate and hit us, but I feel like if you take a little more time to think of kind of the benefits of meditation, that would have added even more power to an already powerful speech. And finally, Jesus. I like how you engaged the uplifting energy that you brought to this today. That's a skill of a professional speaker, to really get the energy of the group, make it your own, bring us up, and then just hammer down the points that you want. But again, I feel like you talked a lot to the camera and not to us here in the room. That. Thank you.
I really enjoyed those table topics. That was fantastic. Great energy, great speeches. A lot of signs of perfectionism. It's time now for, we start off with table topics, the middle of our evening, as we all know, we're all members, is the prepared speeches. Tonight we have 2 speakers, as Seth mentioned in his report. So the first speaker tonight is Upendra, but before Upendra comes up, I'm going to introduce Art Atkinson, who will read the objectives for Upendra. So Art Atkinson.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good evening, Toastmasters and viewers at home. My name is Art Atkinson, and Upendra is doing his Competent Communicator for the 2nd time through. He's doing project number 3, Get to the Point. So the purpose of this project is to organize his topics in such a way as to communicate his general and specific purpose most clearly. And there's a couple of things that he has asked me to watch for, which I will be watching for. The organization of this speech is the critical skill that he's exercising. So I'll be looking for how well does he communicate his general and specific purpose. His title tonight is, well, I believe he will explain his title, How to Minimize Suffering and Maximize Happiness. Upendra Sharma.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow members, and viewers at home. Tonight, I'm going to talk about how can we minimize our sufferings and maximize our happiness. Is there anyone in this room who has not faced pain, suffering, anguish in their life? I'm supposed to say no. So none of you have raised hand. It means we all have some kind of a pain, suffering. And why it is so is the purpose of life is unsatisfactory. All of us have some level of unsatisfaction in life. What happens if you look at the simple logic? Why I'm suffering? Because my desire is not fulfilled. If my desire is fulfilled, I am happy. But what happens is, there is something, there's a block within the fulfillment of my desire. And all my life, I am trying to remove that obstacle so that I can get happiness. But guess what happens? The moment one desire is fulfilled, another desire takes place. And we are hunting after removing obstacles, after obstacles, after obstacles. And if you look at it, we are never satisfied. In ancient religions, they identified that link. And the link was, desires are the cause of suffering. As long as you have desires, you have suffering, so do not have any desire. But that is not the purpose of my talk tonight. If you do not have suffering, it really does not mean that you are happy. We don't want to live a life without suffering and without happiness. There was a difference between us and stone. So tonight I'm going to focus on some of the points which have been proven over the centuries and who have been given to all of us over the centuries. How can we enhance our happiness? As Diane will agree with me, mind over the matter. If you don't mind, it does not matter. We can uplift ourselves over our desires, over our sufferings. How can we do that? There are some principles of life we can live on. One of the principles of life is speaking truth. Speaking truth requires less energy and creates less anxiety. Also not speaking bad about anybody. It's just honesty. Next is being non-violent. By non-violent, I mean non-violent in your thought, non-violent in your speech, and non-violent in your action. Also, do not take part in any work, don't take work which require violent activities. Military, you don't know who started the war, what was his intention, but you are the one who is shooting down somebody. Do not take part in any gang. You're hurting the person, you're hurting the family and environment around it. Or meat packing plant, you're killing animals, you're creating stress in the society. Non-violent. You may not agree with me, but vegetarianism is a better way of a non-violence life. Killing somebody for our survival is a kind of violence which hurts us eventually. What goes around, comes around. Another is being compassionate. I talked about the compassionate earlier on, but my point here is accept yourself, be compassionate to yourself first. None of us is a perfectionist. We have our weaknesses, we have our strength. And the moment we realize that I am not perfectionist, I can never be a perfectionist, I start to accept everyone around here. They are not perfectionist either. They have weaknesses and their strength, and I become compassionate towards them. Third important point is forgiveness. Why forgiveness is important? If you have done something wrong to me, you hurted my feelings. But if I'm dwelling on those thoughts over and over and over, I'm hurting myself more than you have hurted me. Forgiveness is like a flush which wash out our mental clutter, and we have a fresh mind to work on. So forgiveness is important. Third is being honest. We heard honesty is the best policy. But if you have lived your life like how many years I have lived, this is the only policy that works. Being honest, once you do something bad, it comes back to you, haunts you, or you have a fear, you have an anger, you have a stress, you have a suffering. If you don't, you can walk with a smile, hi upset, how are you? You have nothing to hide. Another point I would like to make is do not involve yourself, I know it is a Western society, in any kind of sexual misconduct. Lust brings embarrassment. So know your boundaries and control yourself. Those things, whether you are Monica Lewinsky or it's a Tiger Woods or anybody, people forget what you have done. They remember what you should have done. So that brings, I will say, those are some of the points I've mentioned. If you live that life, it will bring happiness. Your happiness will expand. Not only that, your sufferings will minimize. So at the end, I would like to say, in order to minimize your sufferings and maximize your happiness, you have to live the principles of life: truth, compassion, honesty, non-violence, and no sexual misconduct. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Tanya, would you time 2 minutes, and then would you all please fill out your evaluation forms? Hopefully you have them. Thank you. Welcome back. We have another speaker tonight, and that's Dan Craig, and to introduce him is Jyoti Andekari.
Fellow Toastmasters, I guess and viewers at home. Today Dan Craig is doing his Advanced Communication series. This is the series which we do after we finish 10 our communication manuals. We have 10 speeches to finish first, and then we go to this Advanced Communication. if someone is doing advanced communication, means he has already done or she has already done her 10th speech and already become a master in speech. So today, Dan is doing his first speech on advanced manual, that's a storytelling. Dan Craig has been Golden Speaker since 2010. He lives with his wife, Jean, she's here, and 2 dogs. Arby, is it? Aubrey and Porter. Arby and Porter. In the wilds of Vedic City. He's going to give a talk tonight on Project 1 from this manual, the storytelling, and the title is More Than a Match. Let's welcome Dan.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. There once was a man who was so wise that no one could say exactly how wise he was. And he was so old that no one could remember his name. In fact, he had forgotten it himself. He was known simply as the Wise One. The Wise One lived near the capital city of here, which was about a day's ride away from the city of there. There was a single road that connected the two every day. There was a lot of traffic in the form of horses and carriages going down this road. One day a merchant from the city of here was traveling toward there. He got halfway and he met a huge man standing in the middle of the road dressed like a merchant. The giant said, "None shall pass without a fight. Choose your weapon, dark or light. I'll more than match you, wrong or right." The merchant said, "Never mind," and he went back towards the city of here as quickly as he could, warning everybody that he saw on the way. Eventually the story reached the king. dear me," said the king. "What should I do? What should I do?" The queen leaned over at him and said, "Darling, why don't... Not now, I love. We must listen to our council of 3. The first counselor stood, raised his finger in the air and said, "Your Majesty, it's very important that you protect all your citizens and allow them to travel wherever they wish. You must send a great warrior to battle the giant. Send the master of clubs." Oh my, said the king. But he gave the order, and the next day the master of clubs rode toward there until he came to the giant, who was blocking the road, standing there, dressed like a master of clubs. "None shall pass without a fight. Choose your weapon, dark or light. I'll more than match you, wrong or right." The master of clubs pulled out his club and said, "I choose clubs." But the giant had a bigger club and a longer club. Boom, boom, boom. And soon the master of clubs was shorter and wider than before. He got back on his horse and rode back to report to the king. Dear me, said the king. "What must I do? What must I do?" The queen said, "Darling, why don't you..." "Not now, my love. We must listen to our counselors." The second counselor stood up and pulled his ear. He said, "Your Majesty, this is a great insult to your kingdom. You must send a great warrior to defeat this giant. Send the master of swords." Oh my, said the king. And he gave the order. The next day the master of swords rode down the road toward there until he came to the giant, who was standing in the middle of the road dressed like a master of swords. "None shall pass without a fight. Choose your weapon, dark or light. I'll more than match you, wrong or right." "I choose swords." But the giant had a bigger sword and a sharper one. And suddenly the master of swords was in a totally shattered tunic. He got back on his horse, rode back to report to the king.
Dear me, said the king, what must I do, what must I do? The queen leaned over and said, darling, why don't you ask? Not now, my love. In these critical times, we must always trust in our counselors. The third counselor stood, put his finger alongside of his nose and said, Your Majesty, this situation threatens the very existence of our kingdom. You must send the greatest warrior to battle this giant. Send the master of fire. Oh my, said the king. But he gave the order. The next day the master of fire rode out till he came to the giant, standing in the middle of the road, dressed like a master of fire. None shall pass without a fight. Choose your weapon, dark or light. I'll more than match you, wrong or right. The master of fire said, I choose fire. And he began to throw his torches toward the giant. But the giant caught the torches and threw them back faster and hotter than before. Soon the master of fire was singed from head to foot. He got back on his horse and rode back to report to me. Dear me, said the king, what must I do, what must I do? But none of the counselors had anything else to say. The queen leaned over again and said, darling, why don't you ask the wise one? An excellent idea, my love. I'm so glad that we had it. He sent for the wise one who came and listened to the story. He said, I must go at once. He borrowed a horse and a cart from the king, rode out to meet the giant, who was standing blocking the road, dressed like a wise one. None shall pass without a fight. Choose your weapon, dark or light. I'll more than match you, wrong or right. The wise one said, I'll have to think about that. So he sat down in his cart. He was contemplating the situation. And after a while, his stomach started to growl a little bit. So he opened up his bag, pulled out some bread. He was about to eat it. And the giant suddenly had a huge growl in his stomach. The wise one said, perhaps you'd like to share my humble repast. So, said the giant, you try to conquer me with kindness, but I can more than match you. So he reached in his own bag, he pulled out a table and a chair and all kinds of wonderful food for the wise one. He set them down in front of him and stood back, still as a statue. The wise one sat at the table, enjoyed himself, delicious food, the greatest stuff ever. When he was completely satisfied, he sat there, he looked up at the giant and said, perhaps I should tell you a little bit about myself. I live in the forest outside the city of here. And although I make no claims myself, people tend to call me the wise one. So, said the giant, another contest. I'll tell you even more about me. My father was the wind, and my mother was a mirror. Like any mirror, I only display what I am shown, and I have no power or skill except what you show to me. I thought so, said the wise one. To the giant he said, it's been lovely speaking with you, but I really must make it to the city of there before dark. Could I offer you a ride? I can't believe you're challenging me again, said the giant. I'll show you once and for all. He picked up the wise one, he picked up the horse, he picked up the cart, he raced down the road and set them all gently before the gates of the city of there. He said, I hope you've learned your lesson. And then he ran off and he was soon out of sight. The wise one said, thank you. And I'm sure the king and all his subjects will thank you too. Ever since then, any traveler from the city of here only has to go halfway to there, and then they get a ride. Madam Toastmaster.